A biker struck a 76-year-old veteran inside a diner. 11 minutes later, his son showed up, with the army. The sharp smack of flesh on flesh rang through the diner. Every head snapped toward the corner booth, where a thick-set biker in a black leather jacket towered above a frail, silver-haired man wearing a faded military cap. The old man's head was still turned from the force of the blow, his trembling hands barely keeping hold of his coffee cup. No one moved. No one spoke. The biker leaned down, whiskey on his breath. That's what happens when you disrespect the Reaper's old man. But the veteran didn't flinch. Slowly he turned back, steel blue eyes blazing, not with pain, but with something far more dangerous. 11 minutes later, the earth outside would rumble, engines would thunder, and men in uniform would swarm the parking lot. But for now, nobody in the diner had the faintest clue what was on its way. Frank Carter had lived through 3 tours in Vietnam. He had buried brothers in arms, carried shrapnel in his leg for half a century, and spent his retirement sipping coffee every morning at this very diner. Today was supposed to be no different. Then the biker swaggered in, loud laughter, shoulders shoving, even pushing a waitress aside. Frank had only said one thing: show some respect. That was enough. Now his cheek stung, his pride burned hotter than the pain. Worse than both was the look on the young waitress's face, frightened, powerless. Frank wasn't just a veteran. He was also a father, and his son, that was trouble the biker hadn't counted on. The biker, Patch, yanked Frank's collar. Got something else to say, Gramps? Frank gave no answer. Instead, his weathered fingers curled around the diner's old rotary phone. One call. That was all it would take. Patch barked a laugh as Frank dialed. Who you calling, old man? The nursing home. Frank ignored him. When the line connected, he spoke only 2 words. Son now. Then he hung up. Patch shoved him back into the booth, sneering as he flicked open a knife. The waitress gasped. Frank simply folded his hands on the table and waited. 11 minutes later, the first Humvee skidded into the lot. Then another. Then another. Patch froze as the sound of boots thundered outside. The door slammed open, and in marched Captain Daniel Carter, Frank's son, flanked by 6 armed soldiers. The diner went dead silent. Daniel's eyes locked on Patch. You hit a decorated veteran, he said, voice low and sharp. Now you deal with me. Patch lunged with the knife. A soldier stripped it from his hand in one brutal move. Frank rose slowly, his eyes on his son. He doesn't get to walk away, Danny. Daniel nodded once. He won't. What followed wasn't a fight. It was justice. Patch was hauled outside and shoved into a waiting MP truck. He spat threats until Daniel leaned close, his voice like ice. You're lucky the Army treats prisoners better than you treat veterans. The truck rolled away. Frank lifted his coffee, the diner buzzing with whispers. Daniel sat across from him, jaw tight. You okay, Pop? Frank smirked. Been through worse. For the first time in years, he let his son help him up. Outside, the sun blazed bright. And for the first time in a long time, Frank Carter didn't feel quite so old. If this story moved you, hit that like button and drop a karma in the comments below.